How's it going, everybody? My name's Avid, and today we are going to do another command block creations video. Specifically, we're going to work on an evil AI boss fight as part of the 5th quest in my adventure map series, The Deep. So behind me, we have this door, which is going to lead to the boss room. And in this video, we are going to go through the entire process, a bunch of new mechanics I've been working on for boss fights. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you the entire boss fight from start to finish. I promise you, it is totally worth the wait. This has been the biggest project I have ever worked on, and I'm so excited. Let's get started. And before we get started, I probably should explain what these faces are behind me because they look absolutely ridiculous. Well, the AI is going to be on this back wall. He's going to be displayed on a computer screen, you know, like this black screen, and his face is going to be right in the center, looking right at the player. And I want the AI to have a little bit of emotion, so I've gone and templated out a couple of faces that we could use to make the AI a bit more expressive. So we're going to use the clone command to clone these expressions onto the back wall while the AI is talking to give the player a bit more of an immersive experience. Let me show you. For instance, we have here a surprise face, and if you notice, the AI right now has a frowning face. So if I were to press this button here, the AI is now going to have a surprise face. And for each of these faces, I have a similar looking, what I would call is a function to turn the face into the respective face that is templated back here. Now, I just want to go over something really important because I use this pattern all the time in my command block creations. This is a function, right? I like to use gold blocks to indicate the start of a function. And you can turn this gold block into a redstone block from anywhere else in your world, so long as the chunk is loaded, and it's going to run this function and then reset the function back to the gold block state. How does that work? Well, you take all of the commands that you want to run. I like to separate things by ticks if they have completely separate and independent operations, but for this particular function call, it does one thing. It clones this template face onto the screen, and then this repeating command block, its sole purpose is to turn that redstone block back into a gold block. So let's play around with the happy face and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm gonna queue up a command here to turn this into a redstone block. And we're just gonna copy that command, and then if we move over to the face, right, I can run that command and it turns over to a happy face, and we notice that that block was turned back into a gold block. Now looking at it from down here, we'll run it one more time, and you can see exactly how it works. So this is a perfect way to run functions in your Minecraft command block contraptions. This is going to be the foundation for making our boss expressive and have a personality, you know, because we need to give our players some kind of incentive, but also emotionally connect them to the fight, because that's a lot more interesting, right? And just to give you an idea of what that looks like from the front, I've set up a couple command blocks here to show off the different faces because I just think it looks awesome. So right now we're on, I think this one is angry. We also have mad. So let's take a look at the differences. We have happy, we have surprised, mad, sad, angry, yeah, I like that one, and dead. So this is whenever he takes damage. I think this will be really funny to show those faces. All right, so whenever I make a boss fight, I also make a command block room, and this one is directly below the boss room we were just in. And I just want to show you how I actually create these command block boss fights. So I'll make rows of specific functions. So in programming, you have these concepts of function calls. I like to make rows where in order to run that function, you just change the block that precedes the function with redstone. So I have an open door function here and the dialogue for my AI, which I call Al in this case. And so what we're gonna see here is these two function calls run when the player enters the door. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, everybody knows every good boss fight has an awesome opening. So let's see what we have here. We have a pressure plate that's right outside of a save room where you can sleep and set your spawn point. And when the players step on this pressure plate, the door opens, and then we start to get some dialogue. So we have the initializing. It's perfect! So this is just a little sample of how the intro dialogue is going to work, but the AI is eventually going to get angry and then turn on the player, and the fight is going to begin. I cannot wait. Every good boss fight has good music. So I came up with this idea where you can loop audio in a boss fight. It's actually really simple, and it starts out with using one of these etho clocks. So if you set the time of the etho clock to be equal to how long the music will play for, you can create kind of a template clock here. And we are going to clone this clock and use it to toggle the music to be played every time the clock goes through one revolution. So basically, we're going to create a loop of the music. So let's go ahead and hit the start button and listen to this awesome music. Right? So I think the Ward soundtrack is perfect for this fight because it's kind of spooky, it's kind of cyberpunky, right? And now we're gonna skip ahead to the end and we'll watch as the timer ticks over. All right, we are just about at the end of the song here. There it is, and it begins again. Right? How cool is that? And if you find out that the timing is not right, then you can always adjust and add a little more time. And actually what we found there was the song went on a little bit longer. I forgot there's that little tail end section of it. So I think I'm gonna add a few more gold blocks to make sure that this thing loops smoothly. I've laid out 4 quadrants of this boss room. And what I'm thinking is I wanna have 3 different ways that the boss can attack the player. And we're gonna work on the first way right now, which is where the boss is going to signal that one of the quadrants is going to turn into lava. And then a moment after that, the quadrant will turn into lava. And we're going to do that for 3 quadrants, forcing the player to move to one of the 4 quadrants. Once they get in the 4th quadrant, we're gonna spawn a bunch of monsters, and the player's going to have to defeat those monsters. I don't want the players to learn a specific order in terms of the squares turning into lava, so I'm gonna implement a randomizer by Mumbo Jumbo to make sure that we can randomize which quadrants the players get pushed into and where that fight starts. Now for the randomizer, I just used Mumbo Jumbos, which is pretty straightforward. Basically, you have shulker boxes inside of a dispenser and a comparator that reads how much material is inside of those shulker boxes. The nice part about a dispenser is it releases a random shulker box each time I press this button. And so as you can see here, now we have the very first redstone torch output, and then we have it's perfectly random, so that's the first one. Again, that is not a great example. Now we have the 4th one, right? Okay, so that's the idea, is we can randomly select one of these 4 tracks every time the boss wants to start up that attack type. So the last important piece of the puzzle here is a state machine. And for the sake of the video, I'm not gonna go into total detail on this thing. I can make a whole separate video on it. But essentially, we wanna go from red to yellow to green, and green means that the player has survived this particular attack 3 times. And what happens is these 3 separate command sections get copied over to this command here, which is to win your particular quarter. So once we've copied over the green command, that means there's only 1 quarter left to win, and if we win that, then we move on to the next phase. All right, so that was really cool. That is phase 1 of 3, believe it or not. So I have bitten off a little more than I can chew, but I am going to try to get the next phase in here, which is I would like to have these kind of vaporization walls move from the left to the right and the right to the left and the front to the back. And players need to use Riptide Tridents to jump over those vaporization walls. And if the wall touches the player, then they get vaporized. So let's see how I can figure that out, because I have absolutely no idea how I'm gonna do it, but I'm sure we can get it. Let's go. All right. So I think I have an idea for the vaporization wall that's going to move across this room. So what I'm going to do here is I have an armor stand that I've named, and I'm going to summon a particle, the poof particle I've settled on. I think that one looks the best. And I'm going to summon it in this way where it kind of is a wall between basically the 2 sides of this chamber. And when that command is running, let's just turn that on and you can see what it looks like. So imagine if this was coming towards you, and the second that it touches you, it just vaporizes you. I think that would look so good. And then the next thing is actually pretty easy. So all you're gonna do is you execute a teleport command on the armor stand to move it, and I'm gonna change this direction to negative, and then if I run this thing by making it always active, and let's just get ahead of it. And here we can see the vaporization wall coming towards us. It's a little bit framey, so I need to be careful using too many particles. But basically when this touches the player, boom, the player's vaporized. All right, so we are back down in the command center here, just 10 blocks below the boss arena, which is just up above us. And I have created these platforms where armor stands can be summoned and slid across. So that way, deep down below the boss fight, we can actually move the armor stand and create the particle effect. So I'm gonna create 4 distinct paths, so that way we can go left to right to left, front to back, and back to front. And what you'll notice here is I have one of these paths already populated. This is going to summon the armor stand, and then these commands are going to slide it and spawn in the particles. So if we just do that, we can see our armor stand spawns over here, and it's starting to slide along the track. Now, if we hop into spectator mode, we can see just up on the surface, we have a very laggy, which I will have to fix, but very cool particle wall that vaporizes the player. We'll get into the vaporization piece in a second because that's really important. Once the armor stand reaches the end of the track, it's going to step on this pressure plate, and there's a command block there to destroy the armor stand, and there it goes. So we need to make sure that we stop this, this function when the armor stand hits that command block. So there are a couple ways we can do that. The first way is when it hits that command block, we stop the request here. We basically turn this back into a gold block. The other way is we could do a whole bunch of repeaters and basically guess at how long that's going to take, which also is kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of hacky and kind of gross. So I need to think about what exactly we're going to do for that. All right, so I think I came up with a scheme that will work. All I'm going to do is summon an armor stand with these functions now. And there is a redstone block that will always be high when the second part of the boss fight is running. So I'm gonna take advantage of that and always have those repeat command blocks running. So if they ever see an armor stand that has certain tags, like left to right or front to back, it'll create particles and move those armor stands accordingly. I've assembled 4 of the possible patterns, and let's just go ahead and try them out. So the first one we did was left to right. So here we can see the wall is coming towards us. What's really cool about this is you can summon multiple of those armor stands at the same time. The player would have to basically jump over them a couple times to dodge it. Then let's take a look at the front to back. So we should see it come through there, and there it is. And now we need to figure out how, when the player makes contact with one of these particle walls, how the player gets hurt and vaporized. So that actually is pretty easy. I'll show you that in a second. And the solution to the vaporization was really easy. Essentially, I create an effect cloud around the armor stand where the particles are rendered, and the effect is the instant damage effect. So I'm in adventure mode right now. If we do the back to front, we should see our vapor wall coming towards us, and if I run into it, goodbye. Perfect. And by hooking up those 4 command blocks to another randomizer, we're able to randomize where those vapor walls are coming from. And so I've taken this randomizer and I've actually hooked it up to a clock that gets spawned in right at the beginning of the second stage. All right, guys, what you see behind me is the 3rd stage of the AI boss fight. And again, I think I overdid it. There are so many command blocks here, but the 3rd stage is pretty neat. It's a deterministic fight, so that means there isn't any randomness to it, and we use a lot of the elements from the other stages. And before we get into the boss fight, I just want to show you one important tool that I use in this phase 3 fight, and I use it actually all over the place in my adventure map server, and it's this little component here that you see repeated over and over again. And you're probably asking yourself, what is going on here? Well, essentially, this is a delay circuit, but I want to show you exactly why I have a creative delay circuit and how it works, because it's going to help make your adventure map servers better. So I'm sure when you guys want to delay commands, you want to run a command and then wait a couple seconds, you're probably there putting down repeaters. Or if you're in Bedrock Edition, you have the delay part of the function, but this is a little bit better than that too. Because what happens is when you have a delay circuit going, and you put a redstone torch on the end of that circuit, it takes a while for that signal to get to the end. And let's say the boss fight ended suddenly because the player died, and you want to break the signal somewhere in the middle. You can't do that unless you actively break the redstone block, right? You want to be able to stop the execution of this command. Imagine if this is, 30 seconds of delay, there's nothing you can do. You have to wait for the redstone signal to get to the end. So here's where this really interesting I would call it circuit, but there's a little bit of extra logic to it. Here's how this thing works. So you start out by putting down a block of your choice, and the input is going to go into that block. So you can use a repeater or redstone. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put down an impulse command block and a chain command block on top of that. And we'll get into what exactly these do in a second. Then you're going to have a chest and a hopper on top of this. And this is the basis for the timing mechanism of this little circuit. Now, before I get into the commands, we're also going to put on here the output, which is a comparator that detects if there is anything coming out of the hopper or in the hopper. And then you're going to have a redstone dust, and finally your output. Now this looks pretty simple. Let's take a look at the other pieces of it. So we want to introduce a delay. So this is where you can control how long you want to delay for. So if I get here a whole bunch of gold, we can delay for, let's see, we'll delay for 8 game ticks. And already you can see how easy this is to create really long delays in a really compact form. So what you want to do for these two command blocks is on Java, you can do the F3I command, which copies exactly that block into your clipboard. And then you can paste it here and make sure you use destroy. We want to get rid of the chest because all these blocks are going to drain into the chest, and then we want the chest to destroy the next time we run this timer. On the hopper side, you do the exact same thing and you put that up here and you make sure to destroy. Now, let's check this out. So we should expect to see, now that the hopper's filled, this output is no longer high. And when I power this thing, the output is still low. And then eventually, all right, there the output goes high. And now check this, it fully resets itself. So let's say the boss fight's over. It makes a little bit of a mess, but now we have our hopper totally reset. And also check this out. Let's say we're running the command and then the player dies halfway through. It gets stopped immediately and the output doesn't continue on. So this is a really cool way to have a timer that you can stop at any time. So we just spent the last 2 weeks building out an evil AI boss fight. The least we could do is enjoy it. So let's get right into the fight here. Here we go. So you'll notice I've been given a water grapple and a water lance. These are tridents that have riptide and impaling, respectively. I've also been given a little bit of food to survive the fight, though it doesn't help a whole lot, you'll see. And now we have Al here. He's kind of giving his evil speech, and we'll start to see that there's corruption that's taken hold of him. So Al is going to try to dispose of us, and we are going to try to survive. I'll also point out this is a 3-stage boss fight, right? So we are going to have to deal with stage 1 right now, which is where the floor can turn into lava and any quadrant can turn into lava right now. Okay, that quadrant. Okay, and that's now either of these two. Okay, here we go. Gotta run over here. All right, so once you survive that, you get pushed to a corner and now you have to fight the drowned. And what's really important is you don't get backed all the way into the corner, because once you beat these drowned, there's something that's watching for drowned, all the drowned to be killed, and then we're gonna start that section again. And we have to beat that 3 times to then be able to push a reset button. Okay, let's focus here for a second. Okay, it could be either one. I think it's this one. Yep, okay. And let's take care of these guys. Ah, nice, I pushed him in the lava. That doesn't normally happen. Okay, here we go, here we go. Yeah, that makes my life really easy. Okay, so we just have to do this one more time, and then these vents are going to open up, and I have to be able to parkour up there and push the vent on the wall. I need to move to the center, otherwise I'm gonna get burnt up here. Okay, I think we're lucky. This is the best quadrant to finish on here because we'll be close to the vents. So let's do this. Oh, and I got lucky with that guy again. Sweet. Okay. So this parkour section is really, in my opinion, the only dicey part of this fight because I am just so bad at it. But here we go. So Al runs out of energy and now he has to charge up his batteries. And if I don't push this button in time, then I'm gonna have to do that section all over again. So I'm gonna focus for a second here. Oh no, okay. Oh gosh. Oh no, okay. All right, we're fine. So we got 50% charge. Here we go. Yes! Oh, we are so good at this. Okay, I'm actually gonna take advantage of this moment. All right, the next part of this fight is a little crazy. This is where our Riptide Trident comes into play. So there are going to be walls of particles that move towards us, and if we touch these particles, we get vaporized immediately. Good thing we have a Riptide Trident so that I can jump over them. Let's just give it a second. Okay, meet your doom. Okay, yeah, that one. Okay, here we go, up and over. So we can start to get an idea of this grid that's gonna form, and we need to be so careful to time our jumps right. Okay, we have another one coming from that side. So we've dodged 2 of them. And this stage is on a timer. So that means as long as I survive for long enough, then we'll move on. Oh, that was really close. We'll be able to push that button up there and move on to the 3rd phase, which kind of combines the 1st and 2nd phases together and adds another layer of difficulty. Whew, okay, up and over. And we have another one coming from the back here, so let's just get ourselves positioned. And up and over. Ooh, I hit my head. Okay, Vapor Wall. I don't remember what side that comes from, so now I'm a little worried, but let's just watch where the particles are. I'm pretty sure we have one coming straight ahead. Yes! Okay. All right, so now the best part is I don't have to do parkour. I'll just take the fall damage, and I can take a breath for a second and just let myself heal up. And then we are going to take on section 3, and I'm gonna wipe the sweat from my hands and eat a little carrot. All right. Here we go. We're going to need our Riptide Trident, and we're also going to need our Impaling Trident. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have some of these guys spawn. Yep, here they come. There's going to be a guy spawning right here, and I'm ready for him. All right, let's do it. Let's take these guys out. Okay, so in this phase, we have much smaller pools to work with. And not only that, but we are going to have to deal with the fact that we have 2 walls coming towards us right now, which is very dangerous. But the fact that we're in this quadrant means we should be safe, provided I can land. Yes, okay. So that's the first dicey part. Now, it also combines elements from the first fight in that we're about to lose a quadrant here. I think we're gonna lose this quadrant. The third round is not randomized. I just thought, you know, I could make a really interesting fight. And oh, look, we got a little bit of obsidian there. That's interesting. So we have a wall coming towards us right now. So we have to jump over to this section and not overshoot it. Okay. And we're gonna have to fight these guys. And we have one more wall coming towards us, but I think we just got really lucky. Those guys fell into the lava at the right time. Perfect. So this is the last wall that we're gonna have to dodge, and I have to make it over to that section. I'm pretty sure I can do it. I've had a little bit of practice here. Here we go. All right, that is great. I'm pretty sure we're on the home stretch here now, but anything can happen. I'm gonna hop over this lava, and I'm gonna wait for the signal. All right, his batteries are charging, and that is the final vent. So I just need to be able to Riptide up there. Okay, I think we just won. And the music stops. And Al is getting reset back. Al, did we save you? Oh, he sounds different. You're asking me? Yeah. Sorry, buddy. We did it! That boss fight, honestly, was so much fun to build. It was so much fun to play. And it was totally worth 2 weeks of sleepless nights and planning and figuring it all out. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more of this, let me know. I'll make more boss fights in the future.